Now broadcasting from his hidden bunker and fully stocked bar, it is the Saturday Report with Colt Sebastian Taylor.
Thank you and welcome once again, my friends, to the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor, adventurer, entrepreneur, and amateur scent model. And welcome to AWSM Radio, an independent digital-only radio station that plays today's best music, old school classics, along with a rotating cast of all-star DJs. AWSM Radio focuses on mainstream artists, independent artists, along with a variety of interesting music and talk shows throughout the day, such as mine. All we do is entertain, inspire, and inform. And my friends, I want to engage with you and have you be part of the conversation, so you can find me on the Twitter, on the Rizzle, on the Instagram, on the Cameo even, and even on anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor, where you can subscribe to the podcast versions of this show if it just so happens you're busy on the weekend. It happens to some of us sometimes. And of course, follow ColtSebastianTaylor.com for all things Colt. All right, let's get started with this week's Saturday Report. Well, friends, it's December, which is, that time of year. It's chilly out there, unless you are my pal from New Zealand, where it's really hot down there. They have summer. It's really a hard concept for me to get, but it's like the dead of summer down there in New Zealand. But for everyone else here above the equator, above the equator in the northern hemisphere, it's wintertime, it's holiday time. And you know what goes really well come holidays? You have a fire in the fireplace, a warm cup of cocoa, maybe some holiday lights up for neighborhoods, and being fired over Zoom. Yes, the CEO of Better.com, which is a mortgage company, decided this week to let go 9% of its workforce, about 900 employees, via Zoom. And so CEO Vishal Garg had a meeting, company-wide meeting over Zoom, where he said, quote, "If you're on this call, you are part of the unlucky group that's being laid off. Your employment here is terminated, effective immediately." And apparently, within about 5 minutes, those terminated employees had their phones turned off and their email accounts locked. Just weeks before the holidays, fired. He said that, he was going to try to do this. He had to do this one time before. And to quote him, "This is the second time in my career I'm doing this. I do not want to do this. The last time I did it, I cried." But he remained emotionless and rather short on the call. Among those fired included the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Recruiting team, and various other people in the workforce. Now, obviously, no one wants to lay off people and whatnot, especially around the holidays, but things are tough, apparently. Although the SoftBank baggage mortgage lender announced in May that it was going public and received almost $1 billion as part of that deal, and apparently the company is prepared to have more than $1 billion on its balance sheet. So obviously they had to, fire people for that balance sheet. It's 900 people. You got to make that $1 billion. $1 billion, I guess. Now, apparently, this CEO being a bit of a, as we say in the French, la jerk, it's not uncommon. Apparently he sent an email to people where he said, "You are too damn slow. You're a bunch of damn dumb dolphins. So stop it right now. You are embarrassing me." So apparently, after he got off this Zoom call, he felt really bad about it. He got into another Zoom call with everyone else, told them what happened, and saying that those people he fired were stealing from him, and that he'd be watching everyone very closely to make sure they're working at all hours of the day. He said the people he fired only worked 2 hours per day, it seemed, and so they had to go. Although apparently in August, his most loyal lieutenants, according to an article from the Daily Beast, received massive perks, such as millions of dollars of stock options that can be vested immediately, not comparable to other employees. And, go figure. So, folks, I like to slam people on my show. I mean, why have a show if you can't slam people in companies? But I would say when it comes to mortgage companies, Better.com is the Hyundai of mortgage companies. Yes, that's right, folks. If you're the Hyundai of something, you have reached Colt Sebastian Taylor's do not use list. They're just terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So if you're looking to buy a home late this year or early in the new year, avoid Better.com because their CEO, Mr. Vishal Garg, treats his employees rather terribly and is the real Scrooge of this holiday season. Now, apparently they're getting 4 weeks severance and I guess 2 or 3 months worth of benefits, but yeah, a lot of folks are not going to be spending their holidays roasting chestnuts over an open fire, but updating their Indeed profiles and trying to find a new job. So, Mr. Garg, you can go Colt yourself. You can go Hyundai yourself. There, I'm coining that phrase too. So, yeah, real terrible. I encourage you to watch his Zoom video, as it were. Just a really awful person. So he should be ashamed of himself. Probably isn't, because he's laying on $1 billion on the bed somewhere. But what a terrible person. In other news for terrible people, Josh Duggar, you may remember from the classic, adorable TLC show, 19 and Counting. Well, that's the amount of years he'll be facing in jail because he was convicted of possessing and receiving child pornography and faces up to 20 years in jail and fines up to $250,000 for each count he is sentenced for. And he got quite a few counts on that. So he was part of that show, although I see some articles leaving out some other things he did. He was also formerly the Family Research Council Action Executive Director and FRC board member. That's right. He was a board member of the Family Research Council Action Executive Committee. They're the folks that want to sort of tap down violence and sex on TV and whatnot. Needless to say, he's not going to be on that council anymore. Once convicted of being guilty, boy howdy, a lot of conservative folks out there scrubbed their timelines. Who's who of conservative senators, activists, etc. Had their pictures taken with him. He was very big in the conservative circles because, he had, I guess, a big family. You got your Rick Santorum, you got your the Bushes, you got your Pences, you had a whole host of people which he posed with. And boy howdy, those timelines got scrubbed real quick today. Looks like he never existed. But, yep, he's going to jail for quite a while. Apparently, from what I understand I did not follow this trial, because I have to be honest, folks, wasn't a fan of him back then, did not like the show, thought he was a terrible person, and wouldn't you know it, I was right. But apparently he had like a shack on his property where the crimes took place, where it's just like a shed with a desk and computer, and that's where it happened. And then apparently, when FBI officials showed up to search the place, the first words out of his mouth were allegedly, "Oh, you here because you heard about someone downloading child porn?" And they're like, well, we didn't say that. And he was like, "Oh, no." So, yeah, he's going to jail. So that's some great news. I mean, not a fan of his, and you know what? I just had something about him I just didn't like, and wouldn't you know it? It was that. Go figure. Of course, they plan to appeal. I'm sure they will. We'll see what happens. But he was taken immediately into custody and whatnot. Now, apparently, the show was taken off in 2015 after allegations that he sexually abused 4 of his sisters and a babysitter. So, this guy's been on the radar for folks for quite a while. And, what a disgusting individual. And his father, apparently, is now he's running for Arkansas Senate. That's right, Jim Bob Duggar. He is, John? I don't know. His father's running for Senate in Arkansas. I'm going to just have to guess, if I had to guess, that he may take a hit in the polls on that one, as his son goes to jail. So, enough of that. I hope we never hear from him again. In other crime news, this week, Jesse Smollett, actor who was formerly on Empire, was found guilty on 5 of 6 charges. He was charged with basically filing a hoax report. Back in 2019, he claimed that he was subject of a hate crime, but it turns out, in the long run, he actually hired 2 Nigerian brothers to stage the attack, and after some police work, his story didn't quite hold up, and the 2 brothers were the 2 brothers were arrested at the airport trying to leave the country. Apparently, the attack was staged to advance his career. Did not work, as he was soon written out of the show Empire after it became clear that he had falsified pretty much everything. The city of Chicago pretty much wants to sue him as well. For all of the time and money they spent in order to investigate this pretend crime. Apparently, according to statements here, for the next 3 weeks, 26 police officers spent 3,000 hours of time costing the city well over $100,000 for a fake crime that never occurred. And by the way, a fake crime that the guy degenerates what a real hate crime is, and uses these meanings and symbols that are so important to our society. It's clear why police would take it seriously. His defense attorney says he is an innocent man. The lawyer said, we're 100% confident that this case will be won on appeal. He said because of all of the negative publicity, it really turned. He couldn't get a fair trial because of the publicity of it and whatnot. So, Smollett said the 2 men punched him, kicked him, used homophobic slurs, threw chemicals in his face, and wrapped a rope around his neck and yelled a slogan popular slogan used for then-President Donald Trump. Was big news for about 2 weeks, and then got a lot of support from various figures on the left, and then, wouldn't you know it, once it came out that he's completely full of it, they all left him behind, as they should. So, he's probably going to get another, I don't know, at least 10, 20 years in jail. It's a felony, pretty much everything that he did here. So, yep, don't think we'll be seeing him on TV anytime soon or on anything. Maybe some infomercials come 2030 or 2040. Finally, in crime news, a lot of crime came across my desk this week. A DEA agent was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for basically using his position in the DEA to live in lavish lifestyles of yachts, Tiffany jewels, expensive cars, and basically laundering money for the Colombian cartel. But the agent, named Jose Izarreri, he admitted to his crimes, but he blamed the DEA for fostering a culture of corruption that just desensitized him to the implications of violating the law. According to a statement he made according to his lawyer, when my client joined the DEA, he was schooled in how to be corrupt. He was schooled in how to break the law. In this alternate universe, it became easier and less suspect to accept money and gifts, which I have to say, probably not the best defense. That's not really That's not really, I think, a good excuse, whatnot. The judge slammed the DA. He said, the judge says this has to stop. You were the one who got caught, but it's apparent to the court that there are others. There's a variety of, I guess, files that are sealed, because there apparently are other investigations ongoing, I guess you could say. Apparently, he used his badge to sort of siphon off money from confidential informants who move apparently tens of millions of dollars of dirty money every year under the DEA supervision. He's cooperating, apparently, so he might see some other charges in this case. We shall see, but apparently this was a great breach in the public trust, as one would. The Inspector General of the DEA said that there is some big problems over there. Says the agency is improperly overseeing what's supposed to be a tightly monitored stings that this agent is working on. As a result, as a result of the various scandals that involve agents overseas, they're doing a top-to-bottom review of their foreign operations, which is ongoing. Another agent 4 months ago named Chad Scott was sentenced to 13 years in jail for stealing money from suspects, falsifying government records, and committing perjury. Now, apparently, they hired this guy. They allowed him to handle sensitive financial transactions, even though he failed a polygraph exam, declared bankruptcy, and was friends with a suspected money launderer who would go on to be the godfather of the agent's twin daughters with his, as you might have guessed, Colombian wife. So, yeah. Seems like maybe that's not the best person to hire. Maybe not the best person to hire. So he pled guilty to 19 federal counts, including bank fraud, money laundering, and stealing other things. Some of the things that he used his ill-gotten gains for include $30,000 in a $30,000 Tiffany diamond ring for his wife, luxury sports cars, a almost $750,000 home in the Caribbean resort city of Cartagena, one of the top residences in Florida and Puerto Rico. He resigned in 2018, and then tales of his yacht parties became well known among DEA agents and prosecutors who he worked with. So, yeah, I have to say, they should have kept a much tighter look on this guy, I say. He said that he never stole more than $600,000, but it seems like he got a whole lot more than that. So he's going to jail for a while, and we'll see if he snags anyone else there at the DEA. So crime, don't do the crime, my friends, unless you can do the time. Now, there is a crime, my friends, you can avoid if you do the time. Then take time to listen to my pal DC. Yes, that's right. That's the segue. DC is our in-house DJ here at AWSM Radio, and his show, DC Live in Effect, mixes it up every Friday night at 9 p.m., Sundays at 10 p.m. You, my friends, do not want to miss out while he smashes it on the ones and twos, kicking the beats from a non-DEA laundered house somewhere in South Florida week to week. DC has no connection to the DEA whatsoever. He does not have luxury cars. I've seen his cars. He does not have luxury cars or Tiffany jewelry. Oh, if he does, he's been keeping it for me and hasn't flown me anywhere on his private plane. Does he have a private plane? I don't think it's a private plane. But what he does have is DC Live in Effect. It is a great show with great music. You should mark your calendars. Great way to unwind on Fridays and unwind on Sundays. Fridays at 9, Sundays at 10. DC Live in Effect right here on AWSM Radio. Moving along to the Olympics, the Winter Olympics. Yes, it seemed like we just talked about the Summer Olympics, and we did. The Summer and Winter Olympics are every 4 years, but they're staggered so that every 2 years there's Olympics, because, branding. And this year's Winter Olympics is in China, in Beijing. The Beijing Winter Olympics. However, you won't be seeing any official government officials there. The United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, and I believe Canada, will not be sending any government officials to the Olympics, calling it effectively a diplomatic boycott. They are doing this basically to protest Chinese human rights abuses. Somewhat specifically, the Uyghur Muslim minority in Western China. Lots of reports of them being abused by the Chinese government, and therefore none of these officials are going to be going there. Now, listen, they've also talked about boycotting the Olympics altogether. The last boycott was in the 80s. Western powers boycotted the Moscow Olympics after their invasion of Afghanistan. Was it 1980? Yeah, I believe it was 1980. The Moscow Olympics, the Western powers boycotted it because of the invasion of Afghanistan. And the 1984, a lot of Eastern powers boycotted the LA Olympics because, again, sort of revenge and, we'll boycott you. And then there were some minor boycotts after that. When the Olympics was held in South Korea, North Korea tried to lead a boycott. Wasn't that successful. But this is sort of the first boycott, diplomatic boycott they've had in a while. They talked about doing a sports one, but it did not seem like that was very sensible. So this is sort of a notch down from a completely boycotting the Olympics, is to have a diplomatic boycott. So all the athletes will still be there, but there'll be no diplomats or government officials there as well. So that will not make China very happy. There's been a lot of saber rattling there, especially between China and Taiwan, which China considers Taiwan to be a renegade province, and very few countries recognize Taiwan as a country. The United States does not, although we kind of do. We kind of sell them a bunch of weapons every year, so it's a very murky legal situation there. But China has been sending jets near Taiwan over the last month, sort of, showing, shows of force. So we'll see what happens. During the Olympics, there could be some tension there between Taiwan and China. I mean, if Taiwan was going to declare independence, they might do it during the Olympics when everyone's paying attention to that part of the world, and it would not be a successful Olympics if China decided to invade Taiwan during, let's say, the track and field medal ceremony. So we'll see. But anyways, just those countries right now. We'll see if other countries join. I believe right now it's just Canada, United States, Great Britain, and Australia. But we shall see if it grows any further. Moving along, Kellogg's, home of Tony the Tiger. They're great, but not great at breaking strikes. Apparently, the strike at various Kellogg's plants, making some of the most popular cereals, continues. Kellogg's offered the workforce of 1,400 workers a new contract that will provide 3% wages, but the Bakery, Confectionery, Tobacco Workers, and Grain Millers International Union, well known as the BCTGM, the workers overwhelmingly voted down the 5-year deal. This is because the 3% raises were, adjustments to cost of living and whatnot, and also would preserve the workers' current health care benefits, but the workers want more because they were routinely working more than 80 hours a week to keep the plant running during the coronavirus. Apparently, the machines there would run for 28 days, then shut down for 3 days, and for cleaning, but they would continue to work. So, the machines got more breaks than they did. These plants are striking in Michigan, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee, and make things like Frosted Flakes, Apple Jacks, and stuff like that. The workers are also protesting planned job cuts and offshoring, and a proposed 2-tier system that gives new workers less pay and fewer benefits. And in October, Trevor Biddleman, president of the BCTMGM Local 3G, and a 4th generation at the plant. So his great-grandfather worked at this plant in Battle Creek, Michigan, described it as a fight for our future. He said, "This is just 1 year ago when we were hailed as heroes as we worked through the pandemic 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. Now, apparently, we are no longer heroes. We don't have weekends, really. We just work 7 days a week, sometimes 100 to 130 days in a row. And he said here, for 28 days, the machines run, then the machines rest for cleaning. They don't treat us as well as they do their machinery." Kellogg, who is unable to stop this strike, has moved forward looking to hire permanent replacements for the workers. So they have put out some applications to get people to work there to break the strike. It's not going well thus far because, the internet. Apparently, they are being flooded with, I kid you not, thousands, if not tens of thousands, of fake resumes from the internet, making it very hard to pick out people who actually want to interview for the job. So imagine you're trying to hire someone, you've got, maybe 100 legitimate resumes and requests, and then 10,000 fake resumes and requests. Mickey Mouse. Like, these resumes are like fake names, fake everything. I think the one has like a phone number to the West Baptist Borough Church. By the time they go through the process of looking everything up, it's been about 20 minutes, and they realize, oh, that's a fake resume. So the internet continues to strike again, and to support these striking workers. I don't know if they'll eventually agree to it. I guess it probably depends on how hard it is to hire replacement workers. Some labor activists and experts and scholars have said that Kellogg will have a hard time filling those spots, and this might be just a temporary measure to try to get a better position, but they're not going to be able to hire the way out of this. A lot of people are saying they can't. We'll see what happens. But I'll keep tabs on this. You may remember earlier this year, there was a strike at the Frito-Lay's plants where workers, again, wanted raises for working basically nonstop through the pandemic to, push out Frito-Lay's stuff in Topeka, Kansas. So, and then in Nabisco also had a strike where they secured 10% raises. So we shall see. We'll see what happens there. So good luck, striking workers. Good luck. While the workers at Kellogg's cannot come together on a contract, what I think we all can come together on is a great drive time show. Yes, that's the segue. The Rock Sessions. It's our drive time show here at AWSM Radio, hosted by the lovely, beautiful, and internationally traveled Rocks. She will make sure your evening commutes home are fun, featuring the hottest music on the charts and some other surprises in between. She will make it rock style, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. The best 2 hours you can spend if you're stuck in a car listening to music. It should be to the Rock Sessions right here, my friends. Right here on AWSM Radio. We now go to space with a comet. No, not headed to Earth. Well, it's in our direction, but not going to impact, so don't worry. No need to call Morgan Freeman. Comet Leonard, which is the brightest of this year, is acting strangely and is fading. That's right. They discovered the comet in 2021, and they were eagerly awaiting its arrival in December and January, when it's going to make its first pass by Earth. But in November, they noticed something strange about comets. Usually as comets get closer to Earth and the Sun, they get brighter, but this one's not. In fact, it seems like it is fading, and astronomers are not exactly sure why it is not getting brighter and seemingly is fading. There could be a number of reasons, and they're all kind of guesses. But the most likely reason is that the comet just isn't all that healthy. It could be starting to split up and break apart as it gets closer to Earth and the Sun. It could be running out of ice, which is what causes those tails on comets. It's ice being charged and flaking off and leaves those tails. But they're not too sure. They're not too sure whether this will be a one and done sort of thing. It'll break up and sort of shoot itself out of the solar system, or that it will, come back again in the future and be a comet. They just don't know. Earlier this week, they took some images of it, and it seems to be okay. Hasn't gotten any brighter, but it's still kind of fading. But if you are an amateur astronomer, in December, if you have a good telescope or high-quality binoculars, you could probably pick it out if you know where to look. But it's not as bright as it could be. It makes its closest approach to Earth, known as a perihelion. The perihelion is its closest approach to the Sun. So its closest distance to the Earth will be actually this weekend, Sunday, December 12th, and its closest approach to the Sun will be on January 3rd. And then after that, they will take a look at, see what happens. Yi, which is an astronomer in China, says, comets do all sorts of weird things. Sometimes they disintegrate before reaching the perihelion, sometimes after, and there are even hypotheses saying the comet can disintegrate when they're farther out from the Sun. So we won't know until we see it happen. So some of the factors that could break apart the comet include the gravitational tug from the Sun or a large planet. The comet's internal heart, so to speak, could implode, causing it to vaporize and break apart. It could speed up. It could slow down. They're watching it very, very, very carefully. So not going to hit the Earth or anything like that, but if you're watching the skies, you may be able to pick up this comet as it traverses across the sky starting December 12th. It will then disappear for a few days, hidden by the sun's glare, then before leaving the skies on December 17th. So this next week is the time to check out a comet in the sky. In other space news, NASA launched its newest X-ray telescope into orbit this week from Cape Canaveral. It is known as the Imaging X-ray Polarization Explorer, or IXPE, or XP, IXPE, XP for short. It was launched with a SpaceX spacecraft, which is a private rocket company. The $214 million mission is going to be headed up at the Kennedy Space Center. Scientists said the observatory, which is actually 3 telescopes packed into one, will unveil, quote, the most dramatic extreme parts of the universe as never before. Brian Ramsey, the NASA's deputy principal scientist, said this week, XP is going to open a new window on the X-ray sky. So they plan to start taking images next month and are working with the Italian Space Agency on the project. So it's kind of like a joint effort. I did not know Italy had a space agency, but apparently they do. And I will not make any sort of Italian jokes about that because that would be impolite. But anyways, the IXPE, new X-ray telescope in the sky. So we should be seeing some images from that telescope sometime in 2022. Next up, fly me to the moon. But until that happens, I'll go to the International Space Station. Yes, another space story. This week, a Japanese billionaire visited the International Space Station as a tourist on the Russian Soyuz spaceship rocket thing. But basically, Russia is getting back into the space tourism business. Had been paused for many years because NASA needed seats on their rockets to get people to the International Space Station after the space shuttle retired from NASA. But now NASA can get astronauts up there via SpaceX and other. They're also working on their own reusable rocket as well. But now that there are some free seats, this Japanese billionaire named Yusaka Maezawa, he flew to the space station this week, took off around 2:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time from Kazakhstan and arrived about 6 hours later. Included crew member Alexander Mishkin up there. So he's going to spend about 12 days up there on the International Space Station before heading back to Earth on December 19th. It comes 2 months after Russia launched a Russian actress and director to the space station to film scenes for an upcoming movie called The Challenge. So they kind of want to use the space station for some filming things and whatnot. So they flew to the International Space Station through a partnership with Space Adventures, a company that brokers trips to space for interested tourists. They helped orchestrate trips for 7 people in the early 2000s, but after the 2011 retirement of the space shuttle, they had to pause that for the time being. But now that there's more options, they're getting back into the space biz. Now, the billionaire has made his fortune through an online retail business called Zozo Town, and he apparently wants to fly to the moon on a future SpaceX moon journey, and a vehicle that the company is building to take people to the lunar surface and to Mars someday. So, he wanted to get to space sooner, so he decided to go up to the International Space Station and check it out. I guess he posts a lot on YouTube as well. And so he has a list of 100 things he wants to do in space. I don't know if he'll get through all 100 in those 12 days. That's 10 a day. It's a pretty good rate, whatnot. But, he is up there right now. No word of how much he spent on this trip. But he's a billionaire, so, it's like one less yacht this year, I guess. I don't know. But, there's a Japanese space tourist up there in the International Space Station. He'll be returning in about 12 days. Moving along, former senator, decorated World War II veteran, longtime lawmaker, and former presidential candidate, Bob Dole. Senator Bob Dole passed away this week at the age of 98. He was in the Senate for many, many, many years, ran for president in 1996, losing to Bill Clinton. And, he was highly praised Kansas lawmaker known for his wit and crossing party lines. And, he passed away and had his funeral and viewing and utilization in the Capitol this week. Various people said some very nice things about him, including President Biden, as well as Mitch McConnell, and many, many other senators attended the ceremony. That's why you will see flags at half staff this weekend until Sunday evening. It was originally until I believe Friday night, but it was extended till Sunday to honor his life and service to the country. I mean, you may not be a huge fan of Bob Dole or the positions he took, but he did have a very long life, served in World War II, and served the people of Kansas, and I personally certainly do respect that. After the funeral, the motorcade is scheduled to pause briefly at the World War II Memorial, paying tribute to his military service. Then Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley and actor Tom Hanks are expected to speak about Dole's life, and he will be finally, probably, I believe, laid to rest in the Capitol in Kansas. I don't know where, maybe Topeka, I don't know. But he'll be buried somewhere in Kansas, I do believe. Like I said, he lived a very, very, very long life. Last, I believe, seen in public at George H.W. Bush's funeral, which took place a number of months, fairly recently. He was wheeled in and helped to his feet, where he saluted his friend for one last time. USA Today published his last op-ed less than 2 weeks before his death, where he pushed lawmakers to find common ground in difficult times, saying, "Those who suggest that compromise is a sign of weakness misunderstand the fundamental strength of our democracy." Very, very wise words from former Senator Bob Dole, who once again passed away this week at the age of 98 and will be buried later in the coming days. And that, my friends, is all the time we have for today's Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, you can find me on the Twitter, the Rizzo, the Instagram, and the Cameo at Colt S. Taylor. Subscribe to the podcast version of the show at anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor and visit ColtSebastianTaylor.com for all your Colt Sebastian Taylor needs. Until next time, my friends, I am Colt Sebastian Taylor, and I'll see you later.